Hello, good morning. We're here with Betty. She's a half-draft, 3-year-old. We recently acquired from Oklahoma. We did actually 2 videos so far, but they were both done on the same day, just about a month ago. So you can see some changes in her that I'll just remark on before we get on her. She has obviously gained some weight. She's been out on good pasture. She took a little time to just get acclimated to it, but she's lost that ribby look. She doesn't have a saddle, or when she doesn't have a saddle on, you know, she's not showing rib anymore. She's about the right weight. That's good. She also needed her teeth done, which we've gotten done, and we picked up another bridle or a different snaffle bit for her that is a little wider and seems to suit her better. So what I'm going to do is sort of my general routine, and I'll just sort of give you a little running commentary as we go. One thing you'll see is the first video, she was moving around all the time, restless, a little bit anxious. We've gotten acquainted. She thinks of me as company now, and she's not really had to been disciplined to make her stand. That really doesn't work as well as you might think. It's more so that she has learned to simply relax, stay with me, and know everything's going to work out. So that's real reassuring. You'll also notice that, hopefully, we'll demonstrate this, she is probably going to stand, I hope, better when I mount her. I've been using this muck bucket for a mounting block, and I had to locate her a bit the first time. In the time since then, she's gotten accustomed to this and knows the routine and accepts it. Never made a big deal out of it. What I've found is the best way to make something into a big deal is to make a big deal out of it. So I just let her sort of find this. And I'm going to take my time now. Unlike the first time, I was pretty quick to get on her. Now I can wait and work on her patience generally. So if you're a real thorough watcher, you might look at the previous video and see that she's a lot more settled now than what she was. And she also isn't wanting to go off right away. I've been starting her in the round pen, not so much that she needs it, but that she just sort of feels a little more secure. When we start in here, get the edge off, and then move her out to the bigger area. So what we'll probably do is split this video and have one in the round pen, and then a second one as we move outside. You can see the mare's got her head down. She's relaxed, she's soft, she's walking along, but she's not in a hurry. She's doing a pretty good job of staying on the fence. It's something I'd like her to do unless I tell her to do otherwise. She does have a little tendency to drift, and she may show you that as we go. So there's a little drift there, and I'll just steer her back. If you have a horse that drifts, you want to steer them back and release them and start again. Don't hold them over. And I like to walk them both directions. This mare had a little warm up. I just lunged her around here this morning just a very little bit. But typically I will walk a horse about 10 minutes, way more than most people do, maybe more than I need to. But then I know everything's getting loose. Everything's getting loose. She's getting warm, her joints are loose, and her mind's relaxed. And you'll also see me default to one hand from time to time. I'm trying to wean myself from being so persistently two-handed, and even with a young horse, maybe going to one hand a little more quickly, not as a ongoing thing or a permanent thing, but just to see if my horse will tolerate it. Now obviously at a walk, she's just following the fence. So I'm just gonna turn her back to her original direction and just pick up a trot in here. I will not lope her in here. I have not loped this mare yet. Could be today's the day. Will not lope her in the round pen first. I like to get them broke enough that they can lope outside and have a little more scope. She's a big mare that moves kind of big, and I think this would almost be more uncomfortable for her. She has certainly loped in here free though when I've lunged her. So I just pick up a trot, and I'm looking for her to pick it up in a relaxed way and to stay relaxed. I'm not gonna mess with her face a whole lot. Let's see if she's coming off the fence. Steer her back. Off the fence. That was pretty extreme, so I'm just gonna turn her back and correct that to that extent. So if they have a fault like that, sometimes it's better not to just correct them. You have to overcorrect them, and then it'll hold better. So I'll come back across through the center. You can see she's steering okay. Steer her back the way that she wanted to come off the fence. And we'll see if she can do a better job of staying where I want her. But I don't want to be micromanaging her. See, she wants to come off, steer her back on. Now this is a good place to work on steering. What I'm not going to do is pry her face over to the inside. I'm going to pick up on both reins, move her over, and release her. Pick up, steer, release. So I think I misspoke earlier. This is actually the third ride that we videoed. It is probably her maybe 10th ride overall since she's been here. We were away for about 2 weeks out of the first month she was here at the beginning, which was good. It gave her a chance to settle in. So you can see her coming off. You're gonna steer her back on. Bring her through the center and change directions. Higher degree of difficulty, still not a hard thing, but just a good thing to do in this closed environment. And just sort of ride her loose and relaxed and even a little sloppy at times. You'll see that her leg action is not nearly as high as it was in the very first video when she was going around looking kind of like she should be pulling a buggy. Here she just shows a certain amount of action, more so than a quarter horse, but it's not stress related. So what I'm going to do over here is just pick up, let her stop. Well, I'm going to get her back lined out. You don't ever you don't ever want to stop a horse when they're crooked. But over here, she's going pretty good. I'll pick up and just take up the reins. And what she's not doing that she did earlier on was feeling like she needs to walk off. So that's about all I'd do, maybe a little more than I'd do sometimes. And I'm soon going to completely take her away from the round pen, even at the beginning of the ride. I have ridden her straight out of the barn in the open, but I found this sort of relaxes her a bit. So now we're going to get out of here. And that's an important part of this lesson. I kind of came up with a little rule early in my career of starting young horses that I didn't really want to leave the round pen till I could open the gate and get myself out, because gates use a lot of the buttons that you're going to need to be safe and to have your horse under control. So let's walk her over here and we'll sort of do a little anatomy of opening and closing a gate. So you'll notice this gate will swing in. It's hinged on that side. So I'm going to ride over to the front, and at here I'm going to say, can you move over to the gate? So that's the beginning of lateral work. And the reason she's doing it is that it has a purpose. She doesn't know how to do lateral work, but she knows that her job right now is to open this gate, which she's done probably half a dozen times, maybe even more. I've never schooled her to open the gate. I've just opened the gate and let it kind of progressively improve. I'm sitting here partly to explain that, but equally as much because standing is a big part of opening gates. You can have a horse that wants to help so much that they just want to rush through the whole process. You should be able to do it in your time, not theirs. So I'm going to move her up just a tiny bit. You don't want to be on a big stretch because a horse can jump out from underneath you when you're way out of shape. So I'm just going to step her up. I see how her hip came off. Great opportunity to shift her hindquarter over. I'm going to take the chain off that holds the gate. Going to sit again. Then I'm going to take the gate itself and watch her hip. So this is a good practical way to build in some hip control and to test the hip control that you have. You'll also notice in a gate compels you to ride one-handed. So I'm just going to slide down the gate. Now I'm in the opening. I'm going to relax for a minute. I'm going to shift her backside over. Back her up a step or two and secure the gate. So that sets the stage for a good ride outside. If that falls apart, you might want to stay in there. Lots of people don't do that. Lots of people get along fine, but it just keeps me honest. So that'll be this part of the session. Join us for our next video out in the bigger pen.